It's time to sit back and check out the RCWR show with Lee Sanders. Get fun, in-depth coverage and analysis from the latest in professional wrestling in AEW, WWE, NWA, Impact Wrestling, or the world of entertainment. From hit TV shows to your favorite sports like the NBA or NFL. All things music, movies, and beyond, while trying to make sense of this crazy world we live in. All while keeping it honest, insightful, and interactive since 2011. And now your hosts, live from the nation's capital of Washington, D.C., Lee Sanders.
What? Yeah. Hey, what is going on, everybody? Lee Sanders here. Thanks so much for tuning in. New RCWR show for Wednesday of February 2nd, 2022. I gotta ask you guys off the break, how about that new intro that we got in there, huh? How about that new intro? Sound off. Let me know what you guys think about that intro. I had showed it to the wifey. All right, so true story in regards to the intro that you just saw. The intro was actually done in December. Yes, it was actually done in December, early December. And I had reached out to a couple of people as I wanted them to put their own little stamp on it. I wanted to see if maybe they could take it and provide some narration for it and everything. And I had a few people that were very interested, that took me up on it and everything, that said, yeah, definitely, let's do it. But very few had actually hit me back. So that was delayed, basically, because my intent was to always have that intro that you guys saw. My intention was to always have it premiere at the start of January. Just as soon as we came off of New Year's, my intent was to have that intro premiere and everything. But, you know, I just kept getting delays, and sadly, I got tied up with other stuff outside of show-related things. And so finally, I just said, man, I just been sitting on this for so long. Okay, let me actually just go on in here, and I'll do it myself. So that was actually my voice that you heard. I don't know if you guys could tell, but that was actually my voice there in setting up the intro. Obviously, I altered the audio and all that a little bit, but tell me what you guys think about that. I definitely would love to hear you all's thoughts. So far, you know, I showed it to the wifey, and she is my harshest critic. She lets me know, and she gives it to me straight up. If it can get past her ears and it gets her approval, then I'm good to go. But no, so far, a few other people that have checked it out, they said, nah, love it. It's actually pretty good. Run with it. That's good. So, hey, so we're here talking about NWA Power Fallout from February 1st of 2022, just yesterday, less than 24 hours ago. And I know for a lot of you guys that maybe are not under the Fight TV subscription, you all sadly will not be able to access NWA Power until, what is it, Friday, correct? Yeah, Friday, where it's going to be free for everybody on YouTube. And then you follow that up Saturday with a new NWA USA, and you guys are pretty much good to go and everything. So yeah, so we're going to be here talking about NWA Power. Look, this is going to be honestly the shortest NWA Power recap, honestly, because this, I have to be honest, a lot of times I come on here every week and I talk about how, this was a pretty good show. And, you know, very rare have I given some constructive criticism on these shows, but this is probably the one time out of several months that I've gone, yeah, this is a little bit of a lackluster episode here. I don't really know about this one. But we'll also talk a little bit about NWA USA as well. By the way, how do you all like the audio that you're hearing right now definitely sound off on the audio. I'm going to be asking about the intro and the audio for the next couple of shows, because earlier this morning I was pretty wired up and I was messing around with some audio settings in the back end, and I feel as though I've learned some new tricks. So I definitely want to know what you guys think. So definitely sound off on that. But yeah, this is going to be one of the quickest shows that we're going to be putting out there. As always, I appreciate those of you that go out of your way and you represent, you check out the NWA coverage that I provide. It definitely means a lot. I know that there's not that many people, even though these past couple of weeks, we've got NWA now giving fans free access to the shows again. We have fans that still are not going in and checking it out. And honestly, I would suspect that for our core audience, for our subscribers, regular lurkers, regular people that tune into the show that don't care about the talk of NWA, I would suspect that after what Mickie James had did with the World Rumble, fans now more interested than ever in finding out what's going on with her. They're going to be checking out Impact Wrestling, and they're pretty much going to be learning in the whole process. Maybe newer fans, that is, I'm speaking of specifically. Oh, she's actually also doing some stuff with the NWA. Oh, okay, what is this about? So hopefully in the coming weeks, Billy Corgan and them, they can really strike while the iron is hot, and they'll do their very best to really, which brings me to some of the points that I'm going to be talking about on this week's NWA Power. Let's go ahead and let's go there already. So look, as I mentioned, with a nice little blanket, look, overall, this episode of NWA Power, not the most impressive episode that they put out there. Okay, just have that in the back of your mind. But first, some quick notes in regards to this week's NWA USA. Let's knock that out the break, and then we'll definitely talk about NWA Power. So this past weekend's NWA USA on YouTube, we saw Strictly Business. They did a interview with May Valentine, and this episode was pretty much a little bit of rinse and repeat. By now, I think you guys pretty much have the formula down for NWA USA. Yes, you basically get May Valentine and or Cal Davis in a couple of segments there. You get your nice little spot with Tim Storm, What About Me, What About Raven, and then you've got two matches. Have you guys picked up the formula yet? That's pretty much the formula for NWA USA. Not complaining. I'm just saying, have you guys noticed the formula yet? I'm sure you have. So, Strictly Business, chatting it up with May Valentine. They're being asked about their thoughts on no longer having Nick Aldis in the group. And Tom Latimer, Chris Adonis, they pretty much say that Nick Aldis was pretty much dead weight to Strictly Business as far as they were concerned. You heard me right. That's exactly what they said. And that every single time he was opening his mouth, he would just talk non-freaking stop. He barely was able, or they barely were able to get some stuff in there of their own. So they're happy that they are no longer having any association with him whatsoever. But reason why they were out here talking with May, the main event match for this past week's NWA USA, Chris Adonis, Tom Latimer teaming up to take on the British Invasion. More about that main event match in a hot second. Also, as a result of what went down between Kenzie Page and Natalia Markova from last week, well, Tim Storm has decided to use his NWA powers, specifically when he is in the position he's in for the new show, NWA USA. He decided he had no other course of action but to suspend Kenzie Page. So, yes, Kenzie Page has been suspended. How exactly? Well, when you really kind of stop and think about it, right? Who was the aggressor here? Who's the one that, when you really stop and think about it, right? It's jacked up. I agree with you guys, but okay, it is what it is. So Cal Davis is chatting it up with Natalia Markova, Raven as well. And Markova has some it was a okay promo. I've heard better promos, don't get me wrong. But yeah, I gotta be honest with you guys. And not for nothing, but we actually saw the Natalia Markova character carry over into NWA Power for this week. For this week, we saw her cross over, but basically, Natalia was throwing digs at Kenzie Page, calling her mediocre, calling her garbage, basically saying she needs more work. Almost, if I got to be honest with you guys, almost body shaming Kenzie Page as well. No, I won't say almost. I'll just go out there and I'll say it. Her character was body shaming Kenzie Page. So, okay, if that's not a really cool way to pick up some heat, right? I'm sure many of you guys that saw this past weekend's NWA USA, y'all would definitely be in agreement that you've seen some better promos directed at somebody just on body shaming alone. Yeah, that was just some weak sauce right there. Raven, on the other hand, we still don't know. And this is really weird. It is just the elephant in the room right now. We've seen Raven now on 3 episodes at least? On at least 3 episodes of NWA USA. And we still don't know what the hell he wants. First of all, I can't help but go, Raven, happy to see you. You are definitely a hardcore legend. Welcome to the NWA. But, yo, why you got this access where you just feel as though you can pop up whenever, wherever? Who exactly gave you the authority to think you can just pop up any and everywhere? And why are you in my business? If you're Tim Storm, the character, you're going, wait a minute here. What exactly is going on? And we've yet to see Tim Storm be put in that position where his character addresses on NWA USA specifically, hey, Billy Corgan, Nick Aldis, can I talk to you guys for a second? Okay, so what's going on with this Raven guy? Who gave Raven access? And why is it that every time I turn around, this guy is popping up on NWA USA? Well, what exactly is going on here? We still have not gotten to that. Am I the only one that's thinking about this stuff? Hopefully I'm not, but I just can't help but go, look, I'm happy to see Raven. Don't get me wrong. I'm very happy to see the man, but I just can't help but go, okay, why is this guy to the point? We didn't see Tim Storm in this segment here. And when Cal Davis is interviewing Raven to find out, okay, so what exactly are your thoughts here, Raven? Why exactly are you out here? Raven is basically throwing shots at Tim Storm, calling him incompetent. Basically, the position that Tim Storm has right now, he's incompetent. He's a buffoon. He's making a whole lot of bad choices. He should be in jail somewhere or a halfway house. And you're going, wow, what the hell? So if Homeboy really feels like that, then why the hell is he continuing to get access? And he's just roaming around and all that. What the hell here? Another thing that was tackled was, what is the relationship, if any, between Raven and Natalia Markova? And Markova saying, basically, in a nutshell, they are friends, but make no mistake about it, she has a daddy at home who gives her nothing but diamonds, jewelry, cars, and basically don't even try it. And Cal Davis just looked at her cockeyed going, okay, so basically you have a sugar daddy. And so he actually looks at her and says, sugar daddy. But to basically let her know it's sugar daddy. It's not daddy, it's sugar daddy. So yeah, it was just one of the most awkwardest openings to NWA USA this week as far as I was concerned. Austin Aries made a cameo. He was chatting it up with Mae Valentine as he pretty much was hyping up the upcoming matchup between he and Luke Hawx. That should be pretty badass too. None really much there. Pretty much his promo, pass the torch. Luke Hawx, he ain't man enough to take the torch from his hands. So that pretty much was it right there. Meanwhile, another segment, May chatting it up with Ricky Morton. Ricky is basically putting over the Kerry versus Colby match that's going to be coming up in that NWA Junior Heavyweight Championship tournament. Next qualifying rounds, basically, when the Fixers popped up. Fixers, Jay Bradley and Wrecking Ball made their presence felt, saying to Ricky Morton, hey, we've got our eyes on you. Consider this upcoming match between your son and Colby. Consider us having an invested interest in this matchup as well. So we know what you're about. We know sometimes you can be up to some shenanigans. We got nothing but respect for you, but we got our eyes on you, was pretty much their message to Ricky Morton. So, yeah. Meanwhile, another talking segment, Cal Davis chatting it up with Luke Hawx. When Colby Carino crashes the scene to take shots at PJ Hawx, saying, ain't no one going to give you any respect. You're just a little puppy chasing around, picking up the droppings basically from your dad. I mean, pretty much Colby Carino, that is, was coming at PJ Hawx like that. When all of a sudden, steel chair taken to the body from behind of Colby Carino. Turns out the person that hit Colby was none other than George South. So you got all this pandemonium that is just, you're like, what the hell is going on here? If I remember correctly, I believe Tim Storm finally came out to try to take note of the situation, try to, get control and everything, if I remember correctly. Raven was there as well, pretty much. What are you doing? What's going on? What are you doing? Right, as always. Nice little running gag that we got there. Fixers came out. They were beating the crap out of Hawks Airy. So, yeah, nice little setup that we got there that, without a doubt, is going to play out on next week's NWA USA. I would not be surprised if we saw some type of I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a 6-man tag match, honestly, on next week's NWA USA, assuming that the match card for this coming weekend hasn't been announced yet. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe we saw some type of a matchup where Colby teams up with the Fixers and they take on maybe Ricky Morton and Hawks Airy, or maybe it's PJ and Luke Hawx. They team up, and maybe the third person in there will be George South. But I wouldn't be surprised if he had some type of 6-man tag combination of that nature going down for next week's NWA USA. We'll see. The main event match, Chris Adonis, Tom Latimer taking on British Invasion's Nick Aldis, and I was getting ready to say Trevor Murdoch. I'm thinking about NWA Power. But no, Nick Aldis and Doug Williams. You know what? For what it was worth, and that match was given a decent amount of time, I would have to say. I wouldn't blame you guys that looked at this. Look, I like the fact that this is pretty much, for the most part, a 30 to 35 minute episode that you get of NWA USA. I like that. If you were to ask me straight up, though, Lee, do you think maybe there's too many talking promos in there? Should we maybe get one more match in there? You could get one more match. I'm just thinking about it. Okay, we're talking about a 30 to 35 minute show. You could squeeze in another match. Basically, let that be about 7 minutes, basically. You could, if you wanted to. Is it really needed? I think it just really depends on what story arcs the folks behind the scenes are trying to spin out there and everything. So, I mean, on the one hand, you can appreciate the fact that even though you got all these talking segments, they're continuing to build bridges and everything that will trickle to NWA Power, but also to the next episode of NWA USA. So I think for now, it's actually kind of good the way that they got it set up. But I don't think it's always going to be a case where 2 matches. I think there are definitely going to be times where you're going to see a max of 3 matches and everything. But I like the fact that for this main event, they let this match really breathe. And it was entertaining. It was actually pretty good. British Invasion going over Chris Adonis, Tom Latimer. pretty good episode. All around pretty decent episode of NWA USA. But we got to tighten things up in some areas, as I mentioned earlier, with the whole Raven thing. Now, let's talk a little bit more about Natalia Markova for a little bit, because she did trickle over to this week's NWA Power and everything. So there was an interview segment where I'm trying to remember correctly here. She was chatting it up with May Valentine, and across was Paola Blaze, Genocide, Taryn Terrell. We're talking NWA Power now. So basically, Paola Blaze, she's got this beef with Natalia Markova, and basically she wants to beat that ass. That's the nicest way that I can paraphrase this, because I got to be honest with you, when it came to this particular segment for this week's NWA Power, this was without a shadow of doubt one of the weakest. And it didn't even involve Taryn Terrell. Don't get me wrong. Taryn Terrell and the role that she's been in so far in NWA Power, I've been loving her contributions. She has been a great, energetic, yet obnoxious, and she's supposed to be obnoxious, character. And I think she is just playing that down to the T's in her name. See what I did there? But, this wasn't even about, okay, well, was Taryn maybe weak? Taryn usually makes it a little more interesting in the segments that she's respectfully involved in. But I am not. Look, I know there's a lot of people that are feeling Natalia Markova, and when you really dissect that, you got to divide some folks. You got people that just, they love how she looks, they love how she's nicely shaped, and it's just kind of one of those, they can't get past that, okay? And then you've got those that actually look beyond her looks and just look at her straight up as an in-ring competitor, and they give her props. For the little bit that I've seen of Natalia Markova so far, she's okay. She's okay, but I haven't quite gotten to that point where, oh, yay. I haven't gotten to that point where I'm excited, in a way of I'm intrigued by this on-screen character. I want to see more, now that I've seen these bite-sized, and I appreciate NWA doing what they've been doing these past couple of weeks with Natalia Markova, really trying to introduce her, plant her in these story arcs, not to mention the stuff with May Valentine and everything, which, by the way, I'm a little bit surprised that we didn't for NWA USA. I'm a little bit surprised for this past episode. We didn't get another nod between Natalia and May, because it kind of came off. Remember, she got pretty physical there with May Valentine, and then we just kind of abandoned that whole thing. So I'm a little bit surprised that we didn't follow up on that. Maybe they'll follow it up on the next episode. We'll have to wait and see. But the character of Natalia Markova does not interest me right now. She does not interest me right now. Paola Blaze, it is the same deal. I mean, honestly, when you get right down to the heart of the matter, for all intents and purposes, these are just two beautifully attractive women, and they're great eye candy. You stop what you're doing, you're looking at what's going down. But I don't know how you guys feel, so definitely sound off. But as far as who I want to see that I consider to be entertaining, and I want to. It's not these girls right now. Now, maybe that'll change in a couple of weeks, because the way this segment was set up, basically, on the one hand, we had Paola Blaze that was trying to challenge Natalia Markova to a match. I'm assuming for next week's Power, who knows, but challenge to a match or a fight. Then we see Genocide step up to the plate, and she wants to be the one to fight Natalia Markova. So it looks as though it's going to be Markova and Genocide next week, or who knows. Your guess is as good as mine. We also got the announcement about the NWA Crockett Cup Tag Team Tournament. Remember, that's going to consist of 16 teams. It's going to be going down in 2 nights, but it's going to be one event. They're going to be taping the event over 2 nights, but it's going to be just one overall event. It's going to be going down on March 19th and the 20th. For those of you that maybe are interested in getting tickets to that event, tickets will be going on sale this Friday. It's going to be happening at the fairgrounds in Nashville, Tennessee on March 19th through the 20th. There's going to be, again, 16 teams total. So far as teams that's been announced so far, La Rebellions, Besta 666 and Mecha Wolf, the Briscoe brothers. Yes, the Briscoe brothers are actually going to be in this tournament. The British Invasions, Nick Aldis and Doug Williams, and Strictly Business, Tom Latimer, Chris Adonis. So I would imagine as we get closer to the event, we'll know about other tag teams that's going to be announced for this event. But again, tickets will be going on sale this Friday. So make sure you pass that information along to maybe it's you that might be in that area, or maybe it's somebody you know. Make sure you pass that info along. Ill Begotten took on JTG and Dirty Dango. A little bit of revenge from what had went down on last week's NWA Power. That was actually a really fun episode too. That was a edition of Power Surge where the Fixers pretty much had hijacked the whole episode. That was actually pretty good. If you didn't check out my thoughts on that Fixers episode, piggy on back after this one and go check it out when you guys get a chance. But I had a blast. I had a blast checking out that episode. Yeah, but this was a little bit of retribution here for the Dirty Sexy Boys, because remember last week Ill Begotten, without Captain Yuma having say so, without his knowledge, the other guys in Ill Begotten had decided they were going to hire the Fixers and make them honorary members of Ill Begotten for that night, if you all remember, and they had beat the crap out of the Dirty Sexy Boys. So Dirty Sexy Boys getting a rematch here. This was some serious balls on the Dirty Sexy Boys part, because what if it would have been a case where Rush Freeman and them had hired the Fixers yet again? So, and I can't believe that Austin Idol and them, I can't believe they didn't draw. See, it's the nice fine details that really count. They should have put in there, hey, where's the Fixers? And there should have been, remember, they were honorary members last week. So what? They didn't have any more money to give these guys for this week? Right, you should have drove that home, man. It's like it was right there on a silver platter here. So no Fixers, no problem. Dirty Sexy Boys defeating Ill Begotten. Kiera Hogan did an interview segment next. She was chatting it up with Mae Valentine in a heart-to-heart segment. And this was pretty much all about losing to Mickie James. If I had to sum up this segment, it was all about losing to Mickie James. And I just felt that, look, we know that when it comes to these May segments particularly, there's a certain narrative, there's breadcrumbs that NWA is giving fans as far as, look, this is where we're going next. These are the breadcrumbs that we're giving you. Here's what's up. But I still can't help but go, well, wait a minute here. We still got to deal with the freaking upcoming match between Kiera Hogan and Camille for the Burke. That match is still going on. What the hell is going on here? But all we kept talking about in this particular segment was Mickie James, and the way it was basically set up. You know, hey, been watching you in your career for a very long time. Mickie James was very instrumental in taking you under her wing and showing you the ropes and training you, and look at how you've been able to blossom as an in-ring competitor. You had 2 opportunities there where you have faced Mickie James, won a non-title match, another A-title matchup, and it was basically just the narrative that was put out here, and it literally was said to Kiera Hogan, hey, how does it make you feel that the past 2 times that you faced your idol, you haven't been able to beat her. So, on the one hand, you can appreciate where we're going here, as it strongly suggested that Kiera and Mickie James are not done just yet. Even though Mickie is now 2-0 over Kiera, you're going, oh, okay, so we're getting breadcrumbs of an ultimate third encounter here between these 2 women. Oh, okay. But I just felt that took more precedent over the upcoming match that Kiera has with Camille for the Burke. I just couldn't help but go, what the hell there? Okay, speaking of Mickie James, so I really, I appreciated the segment, but I really wasn't. Speaking of Mickie James, man, so let me see if I got this straight. So the Royal Rumble was on Saturday, okay? Royal Rumble was on Saturday. From the moment that it was revealed, it worked out, the arrangements were made and everything, from the moment it was established, Billy Corgan, NWA, that Mickie James was going to be working with WWE, make that appearance at the Royal Rumble and all of that. You're telling me from that moment, Billy Corgan and them could not capitalize on that and maybe do some type of, I don't care if you have to do a exclusive face-to-face interview where Cal Davis is maybe chilling in his hotel room and he's interviewing Mickie James wherever she's at, or right, you do a face-to-face interview. You're telling me you couldn't do something along those lines where basically you talk about Mickie James' participation in the Royal Rumble and what it meant to her, and then bringing it back kind of full circle. You got to capitalize on that, man. You got to capitalize on that. I was a little disappointed by that, because look, before anybody goes, well, Lee, no, hear me out for a second. How many times in the past have you guys watched an episode of Impact Wrestling, and whenever oh wow, that's pretty big, Impact Wrestling has always been able to splice in some stuff, whether somebody had to get in front of their mixer, record some new audio, and then, okay, all right, send it via email, and then they hurry up, slide something in there or whatever. They're always able to freaking do it. And you're telling me we couldn't do something with a phone in just 5 minutes, and then bada boom, bada bang, we're done? You gotta capitalize on that, man. It almost, not to get too sidetracked, but it almost reminds me of this one time. This is a good analogy too. It reminds me of this one time. You remember the kid from about, almost 10 years ago that decided to take it upon himself to redo Metallica's Saint Anger album? I don't know if you guys remember it. He wasn't making money off of this. This was just, he felt that the album was really good and that it just needed to be audio enhanced. And maybe if he had approached all the instruments and the vocals, that folks would really come away appreciating the album even more. And I remember this kid had his 15 minutes of fame and everything. Back then, we were interviewing rock singers, metal, bands. And we were interviewing all types of different people way back when. So when I had heard about this kid and I listened to the album, I actually listened to it. If y'all haven't listened to it, go out of your way and listen to it. I don't know what the search stuff you got to do in Bing or Google. I don't know if you say fan remake Saint Anger album. I don't know. Maybe you say that and you'll see the person I'm talking about. There was videos that was done as well. And he had his 15 minutes of fame. And I just remember going, okay, I definitely got to reach out to this guy. I want to know what the whole recording process was like. This is connected to the story I just told you about Mickie James and the Rumble. So stay with me. If I'm losing you, stay with me, because we're about to bring it home. And when I reached out to the kid, I said, hey, look, you did a phenomenal job in your interpretation of the Saint Anger album. I would love to have you come onto the show. And back then, our numbers were just fucking ridiculous, especially our downloads, fucking ridiculous. And dude basically passed on doing the show. And he said something along the lines of, "Oh, I'm kind of busy with school," or it was something that was. And I remember just being totally honest with him, and I said, "Dude," I said, "when you get opportunities like this to have your name be put out there, and people are coming to you, you want to capitalize, because this can open up so many other doors for you. You're a most talked about guy right now. You got to capitalize on this. You got to build off of this. This is how you can build yourself up, build up your name, build up your brand." And it wasn't like this was a teenage dude, by the way, like a college kid maybe. And for whatever respected reason, he did not want to do any more interviews, not just with me. He didn't want to do any more interviews with anybody. He just wanted to go back into obscurity. And it was just kind of, okay, dude, whatever. So when I look at this whole stuff, and we're how many days removed from the Rumble, and I combine that with, okay, how long did they know that Mickey was going to be doing this thing with the Rumble and we couldn't do? You feel where I'm coming from? So that was just, as far as I was concerned. See, what else? Christopher Silvio, Esquire, commented more, I think it was to May Valentine, about the whole restraining order against Anthony Mayweather. A segment I honestly could have done without. No DQ match. Sion defeated Saul Renaro. Pretty much a squash match. You would hope, though, that in defeat, Saul Renaro has done any and everything necessary to show that he is truly a disciple and deserves to be within the presence of the sinister minister, the Father James Mitchell, and Judas. How much more does Saul Renaro have to do? How much more torture? How much more of a beat down and all kinds of, how much more crazy shit does Saul Renaro have to do to get in the good graces of the sinister minister and family? Just a little bit curious here. So I like what's been going on with Saul Renaro, to be perfectly honest with you. That's actually, of all the story arcs that's been going on, that's the one I've been finding most intriguing. And I'm just curious if we're going to take this to a point where when he is, because it's going to happen. Officially he's going to be crowned a disciple. I'm just wondering if he's going to get a whole new makeover. I'm wondering if they're going to shave his head, do something with his beard, give him a new attire. I'm just wondering what they're going to do with my man there. We got a little bit more information, not too much, pretty much the same information that we were talking about from 2 weeks ago about the Team War tournament that's going to be coming up. Remember, that's going to be 6-man teams, and whoever wins, $30,000, right? Remember that. Now, our main event match, and we're pretty much done. The NWA World Heavyweight Championship. Trevor Murdoch versus Mike Knox, Part 2. Gotta be honest with you guys. I didn't particularly care for Mike Knox and Trevor Murdoch when they had locked it up at, what was the previous pay-per-view where they locked it up? Didn't they lock it up at Hard Times 2? I believe they locked it up at Hard Times 2. I wasn't really impressed with that outing. It was, for me personally, honestly, if we don't see those guys lock up again, I'm actually good. I didn't care for that match whatsoever, honestly. And yet, this was our main event match for NWA Power this week. Rematch for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. Much like what went down at Hard Times 2, pretty much the same in this encounter. Look, for me personally, to basically be in 2022 and, okay, so I'm supposed to take Mike Knox. Yeah, I know he did some stuff overseas, and you could tell me he did some stuff in New Japan and all this other stuff. I mean, that's all fine and dandy and everything. But this episode of NWA Power, now that you've pretty much heard everything that went down for this week, a pretty uneventful episode, yeah? Especially when you factor in the main event match as well, that being, pretty uneventful and everything. And you also take into account that NWA is going to be doing that pay-per-view event that's going to be coming up. What is it? Something's supposed to be going down on February 12th, if I remember correctly. If you bear with me a second here, I can actually pull up the pay-per-view here, and I can tell you guys. See, yeah, there's supposed to be a Power Trip edition of NWA. Yeah, it's supposed to be their first pay-per-view of 2022, and this is supposed to be going down in Kentucky on February 12th. And when you look at this episode particularly, we had no type of, okay, we're watching this episode and look, this is the momentum that we're building towards NWA Power Trip. This is what we're doing so far. There was nothing that pretty much went into this episode that could potentially bleed into the next episode, which is pretty much going to be their final power as they go into the pay-per-view. So really wasn't right down to the point. It would have been nice to at least put some type of a stipulation out there in this matchup, because remember what was set up from last week's Power, from 2 weeks ago, where Trevor Murdoch said something along the lines of, okay, all right, Matt Cardona, if the only way I can get to you is to beat your boy, Mike Knox, okay, then so be it. And so I think you should have officially built a stipulation out of that where, okay, if Trevor Murdoch beats Mike Knox in this rematch, then he definitely gets his hands on Matt Cardona. He can name the time, he can name the place, and it would have been badass had Trevor Murdoch said, Matt Cardona, I told you I was going to get my hands on you, and I just beat your boy here yet again. So me and Mike Knox, that's now a thing in the past. It's now about you and me, brother. 2 men, 2 set of balls, 1 ring, you and me, 1-on-1, championship on the line. I'll see your ass at NWA Power Trip. Yeah, a very uneventful episode, a very uneventful main event match. You just knew, honestly, you knew that there was no way Trevor Murdoch was going to be losing the 10 pounds of gold. What really was the question right here was whether or not this match was, really going to be entertaining, and if it was going to surpass what went down with their previous encounter. And it did not. It did not. It was equal. So, yeah. A short episode too, now that I'm thinking about it. I think this one went about maybe 43 minutes. I think it was under 45 minutes, give or take. A lot of notable names were missing from this episode. Nothing really stood out. Even match-wise, nothing really stood out from this episode. So not impressive. I'm very curious to see how they're going to do this final NWA Power Go Home as they're setting up next weekend's Power Trip. Hopefully they go out strong and guns blazing and all that. But that's pretty much it for the talk of NWA. As far as NWA news goes, nothing else has transpired since last I was on the air with you guys. Everything is pretty much, that's it. So look, programming notes for you guys. It's Wednesday at the time that we're doing this. There's even more RCWR show that's going to be dropping tonight. So for you WOW Women of Wrestling fans, we're going to have another episode, another live premiere episode, or should we say a premium event, a premium live event of WOW covering lost episodes. I think this go around we're tackling WOW episode 22, WOW lost episode 22. So we'll be talking about that. You'll be able to see that on YouTube tonight. And then I'll be back after AEW Dynamite has gone off the air. Remember, we're finally going to get CM Punk MJF. That's finally going to be going down this week. So that should be pretty good. We'll talk about that. Of course, I will be reacting to the news of Shane McMahon being let go by WWE. Seems to be official. Sean Ross Sapp, Meltzer, everybody has pretty much, I don't know who originally put the report out there, but they all are basically giving validity to the reports. It's legit. So I will definitely sound off about the Shane McMahon release. Also, remember those WWE releases from about 90 days ago? Well, they can now go and do whatever, wherever, whenever. So tonight's Dynamite could be a pretty interesting episode. Might we see some or one of those faces appear on Dynamite tonight, now that their 90 days is up? Remember that 90-day no clause. So should be a pretty good edition of Dynamite. So we'll have all of that for you guys later tonight. You made it up to this point. Do me a huge favor and make sure you utilize that free power of yours. I'm talking about hitting that like button. It's free to do. And when you do that, not only do you help supercharge this video if you guys are checking this out via YouTube, not only do you help supercharge it, but you also help put it out there to a more wider audience, which in result can really help make our content more discoverable with ease for newer folks to check out. So do that, and thanks. You can also feel free to subscribe as well so you guys don't miss out on any future content. Click on the bell notifications, all that jazz. That way you always know the 411, my pretty babies. All right, so that's it. This show is now in the books. And we did not too shabby. We went about 47 minutes long, and we covered 2 shows. I love it. I love it. Let's do some more of it, right? So get at me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Use the keywords, the RCWR show. Remember what I said earlier. Go back. Check out the intro for the show. That's included in this episode. Sound off. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about the audio here. Something I need to tweak around a little bit more. Sounds just right. Let me know, because I've been playing around with some new settings and all that. All right. Some of you, I'll see you for the WoW Lost episode. Others, I'll see you for Dynamite post-show fallouts. Until then, be safe and be kind to one another, and I will see you all next go round. Take care, y'all. Peace.